called 911 because somebody that didn't look like them in their idea was somewhere where they shouldn't have been. And it's just ridiculous. And someone's going to get killed. And we've got to somehow make it, somehow, it's starting here in California, wherever. If you call 911 with a false report, you're going to get a citation. And that citation should levy some heavy fines. It's ridiculous. I mean, social media is saying shut their business down, find out where they live. We're not advocating that. But we should say don't call the police in the middle of COVID, in the middle of what's
Right.
going on in the world, in the middle of what's going on over the years to say, I am uncomfortable with this person who doesn't look like me just being in a space.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
ridiculous. So I don't want to, we have not forgotten that. We still want to talk about that.
Right. No, I very much agree. And I would propose for this next report that we address both. That there's still a lot of work to do there. And I think now, we have even much more of the public's attention, that this is an opportunity to really build on that in the report and, I think to really teach, in addition to what you're talking about, whether there are current laws already in place that can be used, but for people to understand that what this looks like and provide scenarios and then provide what kind of follow-up the law enforcement can do, and do they need to be interacting with their local city attorneys or district attorneys or so that it's, I do agree that we cannot leave that topic. And so this chapter I would propose maybe a little bit longer, than maybe we had originally thought.
So I believe I missed the last subcommittee meeting, and when I was doing a little research on this, it was really hard to find, besides our report, model policies on this issue. But I recall, I think from a previous meeting, that Sandra, you were gonna look into like a university research on something like this. Did we ever? Because I know that our board report says that we'll maybe create model language, a model policy, even though we had model recommendations. Where did that land? Because I don't think I was present at the last meeting. Oh, I think you're on mute.
It didn't land. Still working on that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that we're working on, but I think what's brought it to the forefront is what's been happening currently, and perhaps now it's not just the board that's thinking about it, but now it's law enforcement agencies. I'm so proud to see law enforcement taking a knee, law enforcement officers on the line hugging kids, and I think this is the right time. This is the right time for all these calls for services because now we're focused on it and we're thinking about it. So I think now is the time to start really being able to look for that information. So,
Yeah, there's not a ton of literature out there on it, right? Because I was looking for it, and it's not like other complaints, right? There's so much literature on that. Yeah.
It's not easy, and we might be being very proactive here on the board to actually put it out there. And again, we don't want to be reactive.
Yeah,
There's
of
a lot of
course.
things that are going on that some folks are saying, "Oh, we never thought about that." So we just really need to put it out there and start pushing.
Agreed. Yeah.
Anything else, Angela?
Just in looking at our last report, we were talking about the San Francisco Police Department, about talking about the policy that they were developing. So that I think is something that we can also follow up on, and that include in this next report or to do a survey. Are there any other departments who have or are working on these policies?
Yeah. I think that's a good idea. I'm sorry, you said who is working on one right now and you're going to follow up?
We talk about in our report, we do note in our 2020 report about the work that the San Francisco Police Department
is doing. They were the only one I saw, right. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or models that maybe we're going to start seeing across the country as well.
Yes, of course, yeah. I think it would be a great idea to survey. I mean, I know the DOJ is sending out a general survey. Maybe this is one of the questions we ask law enforcement agencies in that survey.
because on this issue, we're dealing with, people with implicit bias and explicit bias.
Well, and I know in the other subcommittee meetings, we were asking law enforcement agencies if they'd implemented any of the recommendations by the subcommittees. Maybe we can ask too if they've implemented any of the recommendations from our calls for service section of our report. I can't remember if the question on the survey was, have you implemented any of our recommendations generally, or if it was subcommittee specific. But I'd be curious to see if anyone's implemented that.
Hi, this is Nancy. We could also ask our experts to see if they have some input on this subject, because I agree that there's not a whole lot of literature out there. I think Lori Friedan was like one of the few. That's what San Francisco used as sort of a model when developing their policy. And I will say it's the first that we know of in California, and it was sent to their police commission for approval, I think 2 weeks ago. So,
okay.
And that's in a meet and confer process with their union right now, but we haven't heard back, but don't anticipate there'd be a problem in having that adopted.
Nancy, who did you say? Did you say Lori Friedel?
Yes.
Oh, that's my boss. I'll call her.
Yes, I know. And she's quoted in the report as well. And I think, your work with her is some of the cutting edge on this topic.
Yes, I did. Yeah, that's in a different department, but I will reach out to her and see if we can get a copy and let's see what it looks like. See where else it's going. Okay. Y'all, I am sorry I have to go. I have a Zoom funeral to attend. Never done that before.
Wow.
Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. That's
I'm
awful.
sorry. I'm gonna have to bug out. It's starting like right now.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Sandra.
Thanks,
Thank
Sandra.
You. Okay. So are there any other board members that would like any comments about the next call for service chapter, or ideas about the outline, or areas to include or topics to include? No? Okay. So why don't we briefly discuss next steps? I know we're getting to the end of our time. But unfortunately, I just noticed here, I apologize. I skipped, we were going to do and open it up for public comment one more time, since we have just discussed the chapter, what we may be looking at and thinking about for topics for our call for service chapter in the 2021 report. So let me just, and I'll go through the geographic regions. Is there anybody in Northern California that would like to make a comment at this time?
Oh, it looks like Angela might have lost the connection. Angela, are you able to hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay. For some reason, I lost the video. Okay, so I apologize. So I wasn't sure if there's anybody from Northern California that had a public comment?
Did not hear it.
No. Okay. Anybody from Central California?
Yes, this is Lisa Serrano again from Sacramento.
Hi, Lisa.
I just want to thank you guys for being here today. I really appreciate you guys. That's all.
Thank you, and thank you very much for being here as well. We really appreciate it.
Okay.
Any member of the public that would like to speak in Southern California? Okay. Well, I know we're going over our
Angela,
time.
I think,
oh,
sorry, I think
Mr.
Richard
Hilton?
Hilton.
Okay. Yes. Mr. Hilton? No? Okay. Okay, so I know we're going over our time, and so I'll move on. Let's go to discussion of next steps. And so, again, as I think we've all been noting, we've been given such great information. There's a lot to think about. I think some concrete next steps. Sahar, you were going to reach out.
You did not hear me.
I'm sorry. No, I'm having technical difficulties, Mr. Hilton.
Okay, I was asking, what comments have you invited? I did not notice that we had spoken on anything new, or did we?
We were asking for public comments and making room for public comments with respect to the board's discussion about the chapter for the 2021 report.
I see. I take it that it's something that I did not read upon, so I have no comment. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. I apologize for the technical difficulties.
Thanks.
Okay. So for next steps, I think that we are going to, sorry, you were going to reach out to Disability Rights
I could do that today.
Great. Okay. And that our DOJ staff may be able to provide us then with some more research and some input from other experts in the fields of areas that we were talking about. We were talking about, and maybe, I don't know if any staff, DOJ staff want to talk about, Sahar, your questions about the survey, or if we might want to think about getting some more information via survey of law enforcement so we can see if we can collect any more information on policies.
One more thing I was going to say. Do you hear me? You
Yes.
guys hear me? Okay. We had an expert come speak to us, I think it was in 2019, 2018, I can't remember. His name, I think it was back in Shannon's day, is Samuel Senyagwe, and he has an organization called Campaign Zero, and they have published a ton of research and done a ton of data analysis on policies across the spectrum of police accountability. Are you guys also comfortable with me reaching out to him as well about both calls for service issues and some of the mental health and law enforcement research? Because they've done a tremendous amount of research on all of this, his campaign. Is that okay?
Yes,
Okay.
I think so.
Yeah, because so much of this is, well, especially with the calls for service, not so much mental health, is uncharted territory. So
Right.
I'd like to hear from as many people as I can.
No, I think that's great. Okay. So, and then maybe we can all then be thinking about kind of an expanded outline, for that we can discuss at our next subcommittee meeting. Okay. So once again, I just want to, very much thank Vinny and Emily. It's amazing amount of really important information. So thank you. And I want to turn it over to our DOJ staff. We would like to do a service appreciation by our office to board member Sheriff Robinson.
Okay. Everyone, this is with sadness that we honor Sheriff Robinson, because he is an original member of the board and has served for the 4 years as a representative of the California State Sheriff's Association. He served as the immediate past co-chair of the RIPA board, the immediate past co-chair of the Civilian Complaints Subcommittee, and he additionally served on the calls for service, state and local policies, and the post-training and recruitment subcommittees for the entire 4 years of his term. He's always been willing to host any subcommittee meeting on which he served. And finally, he's been a highly respected educational voice on the board for understanding law enforcement operations, culture, with an eye towards making changes to improve policing for the deputies to be more sensitive to the diverse communities that they serve. So Sheriff Robinson, we thank you and we'll miss you. And I think Nancy may have a couple other words since she has also worked with you for the past 4 years.
This is Allison. I'm going to actually speak for Nancy because she got called on to another
Okay.
call
Okay.
that I'm now going to join after this. And so, Sheriff Robinson, we all at DOJ, as I used to say, really appreciate your dedication and the time that you've put into RIPA and all of the subcommittee meetings. And you've been one of our consistent members and always willing to participate, as Aisha said, in the subcommittees and offer perspective. And also be open to learn. And so we really appreciate your time and dedication that you've put into the RIPA board. And I think we've all benefited from your contributions. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate it. I wish I had a video camera so you could see me sitting at my desk smiling, but we've ordered a webcam. It's just not here yet. A few years ago, everything, when we got new computers, we didn't think we would need cameras on all of them. So when I called IT earlier this week to ask for a camera, they're like, oh, no, good luck finding one. So, but thank you, everyone, very much. It's been, obviously a very educational experience and a great experience. Getting to know everyone on a more personal level, because that's sure helped in a lot of the discussions that we've all had. And so as I take over at the State Sheriff's Association presidency on June 15th for the next year, my schedule is going to get that much busier. But you all have my contact, and if there's anything I can ever do to help out, please don't hesitate. And I feel like I'm going to be like Ed Medrano and not actually go away. I'll just be in the shadows for a while and then resurface. It seems like a group that I'll always have a connection to and a part of. So thanks, everyone. I really appreciate the comments. I appreciate it a lot.
Can I also say something? Sheriff Robinson, I really have appreciated working on the board with you, especially this past year as a fellow co-chair. You are a very gentle and compassionate person, and seeing how you interact with the public has been a real model, I think, and it's been great to work with you. So thank you.
Thank you, Sahar. Feelings are mutual.
Yes. And Sheriff Robinson, this is Angela Sierra. I too, thank you so much. It's been a really honor and a pleasure to work with you. And, we're going to miss you. But like you said, you're not going to be that far away, and we will be using you and asking you to be a resource for us. So, but yeah, we can't thank you enough.
Thank you, Angela.
Good
I
luck
appreciate
with
everyone's
everything.
comments. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So with that, I think we'll adjourn our meeting.
Great.
And thank you again, everybody. I think this has been a really productive meeting, and really appreciate everybody, the boards and the public's participation. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.